What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So I want to talk about something that I saw for this highly anticipated showdown where undefeated three-division world champion, former junior welterweight, undisputed world champion, currently the WBO welterweight world champion, is widely considered the #1 pound-for-pound boxer in the world, Terence Bud Crawford, will be defending that WBO title up against former IBF welterweight world champion, British superstar boxer Special K, Kell Brook. A lot of people are pointing to the fact that they believe that Terence Crawford is just going to be too small for Kell Brook. Thus, a lot of people are picking Kell Brook because of that. Well, I want to say this. That is not the case. I believe that Terence Crawford has now grown into the welterweight division. Yes, Terence Crawford did start at 130. He was a world champion at 135, 140, and now 147, making him a three-division world champion. Kell Brook is a big, strong, strapping welterweight. He's 5'9". He's very muscular. But I think this is the everybody's missing the fact that Terence Crawford has now grown into the welterweight division. If you look at them in the face-off, Terence Crawford actually looks a slight bit taller than Kell Brook. Now, I know people are going to say, well, that depends on the footwear, and that's very true. But for him to look taller, slightly taller than him, means if he takes off his shoes, he will be looking at him eye level. Terence Crawford did have on sneakers. He had on Jordans, and Kell Brook had on slippers. So if he took off his sneakers, he would be at least eye level because he was slightly looking down at Kell Brook, right? But here's a big factor in this fight is the fact that Terence Crawford has a 5-inch arm reach advantage over Kell Brook. Terence Crawford has a 74-inch arm reach, and Kell Brook has a 69-inch arm reach. That is a major factor when you're talking about a guy that is a slick, defensively savvy, high ring generalship, very athletic boxer, okay? He's not a puncher. He's a boxer who can mix it up and be a dog on the inside. But ultimately, Terence Crawford has distinct advantages over Kell Brook. He's obviously the more athletic guy. He's more fluid in his movement. He can switch from orthodox to southpaw. He has a 74-inch arm reach. He's 5'8", and he has knockout power, right? Kell Brook, on the other hand, has very, very short arms. Kell Brook has been injured. Kell Brook has a 69-inch arms. He's 5'9". He's listed at 5'9". But as you can see, they are similar in height, right? So Kell Brook and Terence Crawford are going to be looking eye to eye in this fight. And the difference here is Kell Brook doesn't have the foot speed. So you are going to, you have to count on foot speed to keep up with Terence Crawford. Now, Terence Crawford could bring the approach of just being a dog and fighting on the inside and, you know, throwing all caution to the wind as he does in some fights. You saw in the Igor Kavaluski fight that he chose to do that. But I think that you're going to see the approach of Terence Crawford when he fought Jose Benavidez and the approach that Terence Crawford when he fought Victor Postol, because those guys were very long and very rangy with power. Kell Brook has power, but he's not as rangy as these guys. Jose Benavidez at the time when Terence Crawford fought him was 27-0 with 18 by way of knockout. He was 6 feet tall, very tall for the division with a 73-inch arm reach. So Terence Crawford actually had an arm reach advantage over Jose Benavidez, who was 6 feet tall. Terence Crawford has extremely long arms to be only 5'8", and he was able to pick Jose Benavidez apart from distance, who was a guy that, again, that was 6 feet tall. Then he fought, you know, when I said he fought Victor Postol, who at the time was 28-0 with 12 knockouts. Victor Postol is 5'11", nearly 6 feet tall, and Victor Postol has a 73.5-inch arm reach advantage in that fight. So Terence Crawford had a half-inch arm reach advantage over Victor Postol, who was nearly 6 feet tall. So he has an arm reach advantage over guys who are 6 feet tall, who have almost you're talking about almost 4 inches in height over Terence Crawford, and they have power, and they're very skilled. They're very disciplined in the ring. But Terence Crawford matches their skill set, the power, but the difference is he's more athletic, he's more fluid, he's a switch hitter. He can switch from orthodox to southpaw, and he has very, very fast feet. So he has a unique skill set. With that said, his skill set and his physique matches up. His build matches up to that of Floyd Mayweather, who had extremely long arms for to be 5'8". But Floyd Mayweather has a 72, 73-inch arm reach. Terence Crawford has an arm reach advantage over Floyd Mayweather. And you saw his approach to Victor Postol and Jose Benavidez, because they were both guys who had power in their hands, who were both power punchers, but they were very, very technical in the fight, right? And so Terence Crawford matched that with his athletic ability, but his reach, he was able to reach them and touch them from a distance, and his feet allowed him to get on the inside and get back on the outside. Kell Brook has shorter arms than both of them, extremely shorter arms than both of these guys. So his power will be null and void by Terence Crawford, in my opinion. I think that Terence Crawford will nullify his power with his reach and his ability to make Kell Brook think. It won't be unless Terence Crawford decides to make this a dogfight and give Kell Brook the opportunities to land the power and for his power to be effective and be a factor in this fight. Terence Crawford has to give up his advantages. Not to mention, Kell Brook has 2 injured eyes. He broke his orbital bone when he dared to be great, going up 2 divisions and challenging then undefeated unified middleweight world champion, who was a pound-for-pound fighter in Gennady Triple G Golovkin. Then that was his right eye in the Gennady Golovkin fight. And then immediately 9 months later, when he fought undefeated unified WBC IBF welterweight world champion superstar boxer Errol the True Spence Jr. At the time, Errol Spence Jr. that was his first opportunity at a world title. He went to the UK in the hostile environment in the Kell Brook's backyard, and guess what happened? He broke his left orbital bone. So he had suffered 2 orbital bone breaks in back-to-back fights in both his eyes. And then, not to mention, he moved up to 154. That was 2017. He moved up to 154 because he cited the reason he struggled with Errol Spence was the fact that he struggled to make the weight at 147. That was nearly 3.5 years ago. Now he's coming back down to 147. Terence Crawford is always in shape. He's a gym rat. So with that said, Terence Crawford is not going to have endurance issues in this fight. He's not going to have stamina issues. Kell Brook could have stamina issues because you're coming down, you're cutting muscle mass. Kell Brook is very muscular, so he doesn't have a lot of water to cut. He's cutting into a lot of muscle. So with all of these disadvantages in this fight, the only way Kell Brook is going to have any success is if Terence Crawford seemingly allows Kell Brook to have the success that Kell Brook needs. Kell Brook is going to exude a lot of energy trying to close the distance. If Terence Crawford uses the game plan and the approach that I believe he will use, as he did against Jose Benavidez and as he did against Victor Postol, if he uses that strategy and that approach, Kell Brook is going to be using and exuding a lot of stamina and a lot of energy trying to close the gap, because he has to close the gap. He is a bigger, stronger guy, but he's going to have to close the gap and get in close to Terence Crawford to land the punches that he needs to land. Yes, Terence Crawford does give guys that opportunity, as we saw in the Igis Kavaluskas fight when he got hurt and he got dropped. He had advantages over Igis Kavaluskas as well in that fight. Igis Kavaluskas is 5'9" with a 71-inch arm reach. But in that fight, Terence Crawford had a 1-inch height disadvantage, but he had a 3-inch arm reach advantage over Igis Kavaluskas, and he gave it up, right? But Igis Kavaluskas is similar to Kell Brook. He's a power puncher, but he has shorter arms than Terence Crawford, so he had to work to get on the inside. And Terence Crawford gave up that advantage, and he, allowed Igis Kavaluskas to fight on the inside and have success against him. But ultimately, he knocked out Igis Kavaluskas in that fight, but not before he himself was hurt and unofficially dropped in the fight. So, it's all up to Terence Crawford how this fight ultimately plays out. Terence Crawford has the skill set and the advantages. I know a lot of people, and I'm telling you guys this because there's a lot of people saying that Kell Brook, this is the first time Terence Crawford is going to fight a big name. I agree with that. But this is the first time he's going to be in there with a guy that's big, strong, and strappy. And I disagree with that because he's been in there with Jose Benavidez. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, he had one leg. Well, if that's the case, he had an injured leg. We got to look at and say Kell Brook has 2 injured eyes, which is one more severe, the injured eyes, because Terence Crawford is very accurate. He's very sharp with his punches, and he's going to find his mark. So you can't control, if the swelling is going to reoccur in this fight. And Victor Postol was a power puncher who was skillful and very technical in the ring. And Victor Postol, Jose Benavidez, both had advantages size-wise over Terence Crawford. And in this fight, Kell Brook is not going to have a size advantage. So that's going to be null and void. So I want to clarify this misconception that Kell Brook is going to have an advantage over Terence Crawford. And you can see on the scales, Terence Crawford has packed on a lot of muscle mass. He's grown into the welterweight division. Kell Brook always looks great on the scale. We got to see how he looks in the ring. That's all I got for y'all. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. You haven't subscribed? Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, or one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.